I'm Margaret Lewin and welcome to Margaret Lewin Quilting. Today we are going to be working on block number 13 of Moda Fabrics 2020 Stitch Pink. You can see I normally have one of my blocks done, and this one I'm going to do both at the same time. And the reason for that is it's a pretty simple block, and I think it will work out nice being able to do both of them at the same time. So this is our completed block. I do need to tell you that I did change a fabric. C and D, which are these two, I did change those. I'm using fabric number 254 instead of what they had picked out, and I can't remember what it was that they had picked out. They had said, Moda had indicated that that was going to be fabric number 365, and to me the colors were just way too similar, and there wasn't gonna be any kind of contrast. There's not a huge contrast with this one, but that's the one I'm gonna use, and I'm good with that. For my melanoma quilt, these are the two colors that I'm using, so I'm very excited to get this one together. So I'm gonna go, I think how I'm going to start is, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to start by sewing these two together and these two together. Once I get those done, I am going to press the seams open, I believe. Depending upon what the fabric wants to do, I may press them to one side, but I kind of would like to go ahead and press them open again, and then I'll come back and show you what they look like, and then I'll show you the second step. So the first step is going to be just attaching two of my triangles together. Then I will press, show you what I've done, and be back then. I have sewn half together, you can see right here, and I've pressed them. I did press them to the darker of the two fabrics. One of the things that I do want to point out is that these have to be sewn together in the exact same way every single time, or you have to do what I did here. If you can see on this block, let me take this off and I'll bring this over. On this block you can see that this one is going to be sewn together like this. This one is being sewn together like this. And the reason being is because when I put them together, I had to do it a different way because the pattern calls for the center block to be next to the lighter of the two fabrics. So just watch it when you are sewing these together, because you're going to want to make sure that you're sewing them in the correct direction. What you can do, hang on, and I'll move my board back over again and show you. What you can do is lay them out in front of you like this. You can see that I sewed two of them wrong and I sewed two of them in one direction, and then the other two sets I sewed in the same direction. If you lay them out on a board like this, or any type of a board in front of you, it's easier to see what you're putting together and where, so that you don't mess it up, because that's one spot where you can mess this up. So the best thing to do is get it laid out and then follow that layout by sewing one together, then putting the next one under, and then putting this one immediately back on your board so you can see where you're at. The other thing that I did want to tell you is the directions called for the blocks to be cut at 5 1/4, and then you cut it diagonally both ways to create the triangles. I cut mine at 5 1/2 because, once again, I want to be able to square them up once I've sewn them together. So I'm going to take them back over to the machine. I'm going to put the two pieces together. I'm going to sew them up. I'll press them again, and then I will be back to show you how to square these up. I have them all sewn together, and how I pressed them was their seams open. That really seemed to work the best for me. I did consider doing it to one side, but pressing the second seam open worked the best. So you can see I've got them all laid out now, so now we're going to square them up. So the first thing you need to know is what size the block is supposed to be at the end. And it's supposed to finish off at 4.5 inches. So take your ruler, and we know that half of 4.5 is 2.25. So you're going to find your 2.25 mark, and right there it is on my Creative Grids ruler. Okay, so I'm going to set that down, and where I'm going to set that 2.25 to match up is right here at that point. And I will go to 1, 2.25, and then I'm going to use this diagonal line to line up from here to here. So I'm just going to rotate it because I want it to line up nicely until I get it where I want it, and I think that's pretty good. So now I'm just going to go up one side and across the top, and then I'm going to rotate my block, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm using the 4.5 now down here. Just going to move it a little bit, making certain that I've got it as lined up as I can and that I'm still 2.25 in the center. And then I'm going to just trim it away. And there is my block. I'm going to get everything else squared up off block, or off camera, I'm sorry. And then I will come up back and show you the very next step. And the next step is pretty simple. We're going to get this into 3 rows and get it squared up, and then we will be ready to put the whole block together. So it won't take us long at all on this one. So I'm just squaring it up, and I'll be back in just a few minutes. I've gotten them all squared up. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm just going to make 3 rows, sewing them together, and then I'll press them, and then I will just sew the 3 rows together, and our blocks will be done. I've got it sewn into 3 rows, and I have the black up on top this time because I think the black will film better, and I want to show you something. When I press these, I'm going to press them out to the white. What I don't want to have happen is I don't want this black to by any means show up on the white side once the quilt gets put together. So if I open it like this, I can see a little bit of the black right here. So what I'm going to show you how to do is to grade your seams. Usually grading of the seams doesn't happen unless you're doing articles of clothing, but there's no reason why you can't carefully do it on a quilt also. And what this is going to prevent is it's going to prevent the white fat, or the black fabric, excuse me, from showing up on the right side of the block. I just don't want it showing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, now that I've got it sewn together, and I'm just going to finger press the white down. Very simple. Then I'm going to take my scissors. These are my Karen K. Buckley scissors. They're one of my favorites. I really love her scissors. And I'm just going to carefully grab just that black, really dark fabric, and I'm just trimming it off. And by doing this, what will happen is it's not going to show when I get this pressed over, because the white is farther out there than the black. It's definitely shorter, so I don't have to worry about it showing up. And I'm just going to roll my seam back with my fingers. It's kind of pressing the one part to the side, and then I can just trim that right off. And I just want to be careful only to trim the black. I don't want to trim my block or anything else. So there I go. So now those pieces are not going to show when I go to put this together. So quick little hint before I go press these. On this one I'm not going to have to do it, but on these two I will do it. And I'm going to do it on the red too, just so you know. I'll be right back. And that's it. Our blocks are done. They were that fast and simple. You can see I did press the final seam open, and by grading my seams, when I flip it over, I'm not seeing any of that red or deep pink on the front side of it. So I'm very, very happy with it. Here is the melanoma one. By the way, I'm really glad I switched out that fabric, because as I look at it here on camera, yeah, you can see the difference in the two fabrics, but not a lot. So I am thrilled to pieces that I did make that change. And I'm very happy with the way this one came out. I like the fact that there's just that much more contrast in this one. So that finishes our block number, what number are we on already? We're on 13 already, and the name of this block is Rock and Roll. Thank you so much for sticking around to the end. If you like this video and would like to see more of this type of video, please do give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already, please do share my videos with your friends. Let them know all about Margaret Lewin Quilting. And if you haven't already, please do subscribe to my channel. I would be very grateful if you did. So tomorrow I will be back with block number 14, which is called Along Comes Mary. So this one's not quite as simple as the last three have been, but it's one that will not be difficult, and you'll be able to get it together without any problems at all. So I'll see you tomorrow with block number 13. Bye, everyone.